All right. Hello and welcome to For Future Generations. It is episode 11. It is April the 6th. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks for coming along. I am Jeffrey Scott. I am dead dog tired. And this is going to be one heck of a show. And I am joined as always by my brilliant co-host, Sean. Sean, how are you, man?
I'm good. It's been a good Lord's Day.
It has been a good Lord's Day, my man. It has. The Lord is good indeed. All right. Well, we have two things we're going to talk about today. So Sean is bringing the subject du jour, which is just the mass casualty event, or in this case the single casualty, but the completely not surprising event of the week. And I'm going to be doing some conference debrief, but I think let's start with bad news first, like they always say. Sean, go ahead and let's start right out into your topic.
Yeah, so we are all Texas today, unfortunately, because there was a murder again in this time in Frisco, Texas. Is a great little city, growing like crazy. I know the city fairly well just because of doing business out there and meeting customers and that kind of stuff. I did the Frisco, what was it, home show, something like that, a couple years back. So I know the area pretty good. It's where the Cowboys do their training camp and all that. So all that to say, it's a nice little place, but unfortunately, with the public school system being the way that it is, you get a lot of bad neighborhoods sneaking into the good neighborhoods and cross-pollinating and then murder. So if you haven't heard the story...
it's part and parcel of living in a big city is what I understand.
Yeah. Frisco, I mean, for those who don't know, Frisco is a suburb of Dallas, to the north of Dallas. And but I mean, anywhere in DFW is a suburb of either Fort Worth, Arlington, or Dallas. So it's kind of how it is. Dallas is clearly the more wild of the two major cities.
The twin cities, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
when I was going to college in Fort Worth, it was always amazing to me that even if you weren't paying attention to the road signs, you knew when you went from Fort Worth into Dallas because the driving changed.
Yeah. Right before you cross the Trinity River, that bridge that goes into downtown Dallas, is that Trinity Bridge or something? I don't know. It's a major bridge. It's the big white one that's like right outside of downtown. But yeah, I feel that too. Like as soon as you get to that bridge in particular, it's just
like the crazies let go of their steering wheels.
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
But yeah, so the story in a nutshell was that there was a white kid with his brother, his twin brother, and he was stabbed by a black student and died in his twin brother's arms. And the reasoning for it is essentially the black student was coming into an area, sitting somewhere where he wasn't supposed to be sitting. And there was also some chatter about a possible rifling through some things that shouldn't have been rifled through. And
well, that never happens.
No, he was probably just checking out the architecture.
Yeah, I mean,
jogging.
He was just jogging through and looking at stuff because he's an aspiring, whatever.
Yeah,
but tale often told, I'm afraid.
Look at the joists on this one, man. This is a real, prime house right here.
Man, look at the welds on those stadium bleachers.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are not big into sports, there are often kind of shall we say, self-segregated kind of areas where one team will sit on one side and one team will sit on the other, and they just do this self-sorting. and evidently he was sitting. He was from the away team, and he was sitting with the home team or something like that. And when they said, "Hey, man, you're sitting in the wrong place. You're kind of messing with our stuff," and he pulled out a knife and stab, and killed him.
Reasonable
Yeah,
response.
yeah.
Anything
I mean,
that any triple digit IQ person would do is stab someone from the story that his brother was saying. It was like he was immediately like, "Do you want to fight?" Like,
mhm.
and
Well, I mean, this never happens. You have never been in a public place before. I'm telling you, the audience, you have never been in a place before, said something to shall we say, an urban individual, and then them say, "Oh yeah, you want to fight? Yeah,
yeah,
those are fighting words. You're just saying that because I'm." Yeah, and
yeah,
it doesn't immediately escalate the situation. That never happens. I don't know why you're thinking that.
yeah. So unfortunately, he died from what I hear pretty instantly. He got stabbed like directly in the heart. Um, and died on the spot, more or less. And he tried to run. Cops went after him, and when they detained him, the cop was on the radio. He said, "I caught the alleged suspect," and the guy said, "Suspect, I did it." Brilliant, brilliant.
Sir, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you
Yeah,
say will be used against
yeah,
you, dumbass.
yeah,
Dummy. Sorry.
yeah. I can't believe when I heard that story. I was just like,
Mm,
"Well, there it is, right?"
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, and then there was a second half of this story. Did you run across this where the father's response?
oh yeah, and then of course, I I've seen some back and forth about like whether it's appropriate to talk about the response. I will say this about his response: it was essentially what you always hear. This isn't a race thing. It was an individual that did this and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Okay, everyone grieves in their own way, but let's add the context that the Department of Justice does have a team of people that will if this happens to your kid,
Hmm.
if God forbid this were to happen to one of our kids, we would have a team of Department of Justice individuals show up at the door,
Yep.
and they would more or less
Coach us.
bribe you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and if you said, "Nope, I'm going to drop an N bomb like it's Hiroshima up in here," and they're like, "No, no, no, we'll give you
Yeah.
$1 million not to
And
do that."
and you'll well, and I think more than that is, there are lots of times when an incident like this happens, and you just don't hear about it. And
Yeah,
so what happens is these rapid response units go out and they reach out to the families, and they they start talking to people, and they're like, "Hey, man, if you say the right things, we're gonna have you on the news. We'd like to talk to you about this. How are you feeling?" And it's not. I mean, to the family member, they don't. I I'm sure they don't see it as subversive. They're just like, "Oh, there's going to be news cameras, and they want to coach me on what I can and can't say, and what the best way to do this to let everything heal and to keep violence from erupting."
yeah.
You
This
know,
is my opportunity to be a hero.
yeah, this is my opportunity to show the world how humble and forgiving I am. And
Yeah,
then if they don't have that, if they have the attitude of, "No, you murdered my son, I hate you, and I'll forgive you when you're dead," um, he won't be able to. You will never hear about it because he will never talk to a camera. And we've seen versions of this where somebody's family member is killed by some minority, be it inner city blacks or imported foreign Muslims, and you know well, what happens is they don't ever talk to a news crew, so they take to the interwebs and they start putting their story out on Twitter, and we see it, but the boomers don't see it. And those people who have a grievance, who say, no, there is no justice for my son, my dead son, or my murdered daughter, or my raped child, they will never speak on Fox News. That you will never hear about them on MSNBC. And there is a portion of our society that do not watch anything other than MSNBC or CNN or Fox News.
Yeah.
That's all there is to them.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask Jeff to make me an admin. We always forget to do that.
Oh, my bad, dude. Highly productive.
Yeah, we're very professional. I didn't even realize we were going live when we start going live. And, sorry.
Yeah, we are the pros. That's why we make the big bucks.
We don't make anything.
So to be clear on the response thing, what an individual father says on the news, that's between him and God, and that's not my business. Right. Yeah. But I will say, and I had this conversation that night with my wife, like, honey, if they take everything away from me, I'm not holding back. I mean, if I've got nothing left, like they've just killed off everyone I'm responsible for, I'm not holding back.
Yeah.
Like there is no coming back from that. I mean, that's the end of the line. That's all right. Well, I'm going to say I have my words. I can use my words and people are going to hear them. And I don't have to, pretend like it's an individual that did this or whatever.
GTK RWN, right?
Sure.
Spell it out in your head.
I get the last.
I mean, and the thing is, I've got nothing but sympathy for the dad. I certainly would not have handled it the way he did, but the immeasurable amount of sorrow that this man is feeling at the moment is not going to lend itself to proper thinking. Especially, I mean, this is not something that you can reason your way through. He has just received a huge blow, and if it's not something he's thought about before and already considered. Excuse me, and already considered this is what I would do in X situation, he's not going to handle it well. And
I think you and I tend to think about this kind of thing more than
I think most young men. I think most young men our age are thinking about these subjects. Yeah. But the Gen X people, our dads and the fathers of teenagers who are in high school right now, this isn't something that is, that's not something that's in the forefront of their mind.
Yeah. So why do we talk like this, right? Why do we even bring up the subject when it's an individual killed an individual, right? Well, good friend of the channel here, Josh Woody brings this up. This is a great, because I'm going to get into some stats, right? That's why it's relevant. Says, for those just listening, and this is a stat that's been going around this week, right? One, I think, what's his name? I'm sorry. Keith Woods. Was he the one that he was the one that I saw that? Yeah, he's the guy I saw this from. I think he's the one who showed the stats. Like if you break it down by person, 1 out of every 22 black men will commit murder in their life. So we were talking a couple weeks back, what is an average classroom size? 30, right? In public schools, sorry. 30 is like the sweet spot, right? So 1 point something of, if you have a classroom of just black men, or one and some fraction of them will commit murder in their lifetime. That is insane. That is an insane number. If you just walk down the street and you pass 22 black men, like you're somewhere like New York City or Detroit or Oakland, something like that, odds are you pass someone who's going to commit murder.
Yeah.
Actually, the stats might be a little bit different because a lot of them are going to already be in jail for murder. But
yeah, well, and you have to factor in the fact that there are a lot of black males in prison at the moment. But you also have to bring in the fact that these things tend to be concentrated. If you have, your black neighbor in the suburb who's a doctor or a police captain, is not the person who is driving this statistic. It's the several young black males who grew up without a father in the downtown. They're in gangs. They're in gangs that are fighting each other. And it's like, several of them have committed murder. And by the way, as far as statistics go, this is just murders we know about.
Yeah.
So, you have sections of that demographic that are performing more of that. But that is still staggering. I mean, the majority of this demographic lives in that kind of a society where 1 out of every 22 black men will commit murder in their lifetime. At least one murder.
And the flip side of that, to give perspective, white people seem to be the standard, right? Like we all know how it works. Like there's like white people are kind of like a standard. Asian people excel in that standard, right?
Mhm.
Like they do better, less murderers, right? And then like Hispanics are something like 2 or 3 times as much, but then as white people, and then black people are like 10 times as much, something ridiculous, right?
Yeah, it's every time you break down one of these things by statistic, it's always exactly the same. It's like, if you look at
and I'm going to get into that
calculus scores, it's like Asians off the charts, whites right in the middle, Hispanics just below whites, blacks at the bottom. And people say, oh, well, you can't talk about that, it's racist. But the thing is reality racist? I mean, what you do with it may or may not be quote unquote racist, but you have to deal with the reality on the ground. There is a realpolitik. It's what you do with it, not the reality of the thing.
Yeah, and no system, no system where you just lie to yourself about what the stats is going to be a healthy system.
Yeah, there's no longevity in that.
Yeah. So I see you prepping.
There we go. I'm repping my summer merch.
We're getting there. Yeah. So like I was saying, like white men seem to be the standard. So on that note, 1 in 420,
or the mean, if not the standard, the mean.
Yeah, we're somewhere around average. I don't know how to say it.
In the middle of the pack.
We are what is the developed world, quote unquote. We are those stats. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Asians do better. Hispanics do significantly
a little bit worse.
Mm-hmm. And then black people are just in another ecosystem.
Do they even show up?
Yeah. 1 in 425 white men will commit murder. So that's not a that's not like a great number, but we're comparing this to 1 in 22. Like that's, man, like what is even the percentage difference on that? Like that's just.
Oh, are you asking me to do off the cuff math? I mean, I can't really do that, but
I mean, what are we talking? Like 17 times at least?
Well, here.
Is that what that is?
I can do it real quick.
4 times 4, 16 plus. Yeah, that's at least
19
17
times.
Yeah.
It's 19.3 times. So it's like practically 20 times more.
It's ridiculous. So that's one stat. I'm going to go to my other stats that I have brought. Now, I didn't bring like a bunch in, but I wanted to show one that I shared that this week on social media that got a lot of shares. So we're going to start sharing that screen. Are you seeing it?
Mm-hmm. Right there, figure 2.
Okay.
U.S. male and female homicide rates across major race and ethnic groups by gender in 2020 per 100,000.
Yeah, thankfully, a lot of these stats are based on per 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought this up because what I had said was that the red pill that you're not ready for is that per capita, Black women commit more murder than white men.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds crazy, right? But I mean, we're talking like orders of magnitude more. Like, and you could look at this chart, and it's not given exact numbers, but it looks like black women are at 8, and white men are at maybe 3.
5, yeah, at most 5.
Nah, it's not even close to 5.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see on this screen.
Indian women there is pretty close to
Yeah, and this is
5.
something that I was seeing discussed in the chat. This Indian demographic here, is this a feather or dot?
I'm not even sure. I was shocked when I saw that. If it is like Native American, I could kind of see that because it's a very small population and they kind of have their own weird like rules on the side kind of thing going on, and
they do have real problems with alcoholism. Metabolically, they're not able to process alcohol properly, so their communities are rife with alcoholism and violence, and just not a great situation. There's a YouTuber, Administrative Results. He was a police officer for one of these Indian communities, and he talks about it a little bit here and there in his videos, and he's just like, man, these communities really are pretty bad, and he's not some racist, race realist, anti-Semitic guy. He's just a normal dude talking about his day, and he's like, man, these communities have some real problems and they're not addressing them, and he was kind of glad to get out of it.
Yeah,
so that might be.
So if this number for white, I'm sorry, I might have been looking at the wrong. Yeah, maybe that's pretty close to. Yeah, so it's close to 2 times as much. Like it's not close as far as the numbers between white men and black women. So Indian, let's just put Indian to the side because that's kind of a weird.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that nobody's really sure what's going on there.
Yeah,
but the thing to focus on is you've got, just like we said, Asians on the bottom, whites kind of, a little bit above that, Hispanics well above whites, and then you get to the other end of the spectrum, blacks off the charts.
Off the charts. And what's crazy is if you just like put your thumb over and you just have Asian, white, Hispanic, you'd be looking at Hispanic like, dude, these people are crazy.
What's going on?
This. Yeah.
You see this? Hispanic women murder at a rate almost as much as Asian men. This is insane. But then within the context of the wider chart, you're like,
oh, that's pretty close.
Hombre, tú es mi amigo.
Yeah. Right. So,
tú es mi frata.
Yeah, these are again real stats. But we know this next part is anecdotal. We've seen pictures of guys where they are put in the database as white, non-Hispanic. And you're looking at them and you're like, come on, dude. Like this is day one physiognomy check. Like, don't play with me.
Don't lie to me like that, man.
Yeah.
And everybody knows the reason they're doing that is to try to skew the number that we're looking at right here, because they're trying to, instead of fixing the problem in reality, they're trying to lie about the reality to fix the chart. The chart represents what is real. We don't like the chart, so we're going to lie about we're going to lie in our next chart. We're not going to try to adjust to reality. We are going to bend reality to adjust to what we believe it should be.
Now, the number of, when you break down total murders by just gender, right, it is overwhelmingly men. It's something, 96% of murders are done by men. It's some ridiculous number, almost to the point of like a statistical 0. So all that to say, men are the murderers way, way more often than women when taken as an aggregate. So the fact that black women are murdering at this ridiculously higher rate than white men, and the reason that I harped on that, the reason I even brought it up, is because in our day and age, how many times have you seen a black female, usually a politician, get on camera and say the biggest threat to America is white men.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The biggest threat to our society right now is white men.
Yeah. Well, we're not killing people at this crazy rate. Everyone always tries to say like, well, there's bad whites. That's true, but look at the rate of bad to at least not murderers. Like, we're not even talking about bad versus good. We're just like, this is murderers versus non-murderers.
Yeah.
So anyways, something that I was looking at, and I just wanted to know, on that note of the male versus female, if you were to start at the less murderous and go all the way to the top, you have the usual thing that we expected, Asian woman, white woman, Hispanic woman. But then we go all the way back to the beginning again, and then it's Asian men, white men, Hispanic men, or no, I'm sorry. You got white men, and then you have black women, and then you have Hispanic men, and then you go with black men. It gets a little crazier with Indian in there, but like I said, that's kind of a nebulous. I don't know what to do with that. But the fact that you have the Asian white, the Asian white Hispanic jump like that, it doesn't track. Like it's this weird. Now, white women, Hispanic women is pretty much neck and neck.
Yeah.
But man, dude,
right,
so those
are some. I mean, some of those mamacitas, they'll have a deathly vengeance, but then there are also some crazy white women. So no surprises there.
What's the next thing I got? Oops, that's not what I wanted.
MLB on Fox.
Baseball, some baseball stuff. Here we go. This
intentional homicide rate. So this includes justifiable homicide as well. So this is not murders. This includes like police shootings. This includes might even include like state executions and things like that.
I'd be surprised if it counts executions.
Yeah, but it certainly includes not guilty.
But it's also
things found not guilty by a court of law.
Yeah, we've talked about this on a previous episode. The every chart,
every single chart ever.
Yeah.
Yes. Remains undefeated.
Yeah, so that's what this is. What you're looking at is now some of the numbers, and don't turn your camera off, but I was just going to point out some of the numbers are so low that Jeff's camera is blocking it, but you still get the idea. These very dark blue or black are all the way down to the bottom.
This map is making me feel a lot better about Germany because, you see a lot of the terrorism attacks, and Germany, unfortunately, Germany and France loom quite large there. But, Germany, at least 2011, that is, that's practically 15 years ago at this point. But, not looking as bad as it could be.
Yeah, so
some of these are a little surprising. You've got the end of the Arabian Peninsula there. You do have those city states that are pretty well managed right over there. But for them to be as low as Japan and Sweden.
See, but this is why I think that intentional homicide does not count like justified shootings.
Yeah, and no, intentional homicide will include justified shootings, but it will not include it's intentional, not premeditated. So it's like
the reason I say is because like that whole like North Africa strip right there.
Keep in mind this is reported intentional homicide rate.
That's why I'm saying like something feels weird about that.
How many Libyan murder detectives have you ever heard of? It's like,
then again, it does show that difference between sub-Saharan Africa and the rest of Africa, where civilization has existed for thousands of years.
Cis-Saharan Africa,
So, all this to bring up, if you were to take that previous homicide rate and you plug it in to here, I was
like,
looking
wait a
for a
minute.
better
Yeah.
chart. There's
You
a
look
chart
at Hispanics, and then you look at
Yeah.
Africa, and then you look at America, and then you
Yep.
look at
Europe,
Europe, and you're like,
Australia,
So America's kind of a
Japan.
medium blue color, and then South America, kind of pink, Africa, overall red, Europe, dark blue. It's like, man, it tracks. And then you look at China and Japan. Yep, China and Japan.
Is Argentina that one next to Chile?
Chile is the long, skinny one. Argentina
Yeah.
is the fat one down at the bottom,
The
the big one.
right next to
that
it?
one right there.
Okay, so
Yep.
I am right. So it's
Yep.
okay. So you have the Germans that moved to Argentina murdered a little bit more than murdered a little bit more than the people that
that stayed
never
there.
left Germany. Yeah, there's also some mixing in there.
Yep.
But Messi was famously outed as the descendant of a Nazi officer, and anyways,
I already
but
love
you can-
Messi. You don't have to keep selling me on it.
yeah, there's a cool chart that somebody made, and I've even heard Woe talk about it on Stone Choir, but there's a chart where somebody broke it down into like it's a bar chart. I'm sorry, I've read some goofy things in the chat.
We'll get to the
it
chat
would
here in a minute.
It would show by country, right? It showed by
Yeah.
country, but then it had like America, but then it also had America broken down by race. And when you look at that, it falls. It's the same thing we said again. Asians way to the left, whites, Hispanics, blacks. No matter what country it was in, to the point where you could basically tell someone what their murder rate is going to be if they told you what their census said about their race.
Their demographic breakdown. Yeah.
It's all across the board.
Very
so
predictive.
all this talk about, it's the history of slavery, right? Well, Sub-Saharan Africa ain't got a history of slavery. Haiti rose up and murdered their slave masters.
And it's going great for them.
Yeah. What is the...
It's never been better.
Yeah, and I remember, believe it or not, when Samuel Say first came on the scene, what was this, like probably 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. And he's from Canada, and he was saying, we can't blame black fatherlessness on a history of slavery because Canada never had that, and the fatherless rate is the exact same in Canada as it is in America among black men. Well, what's up with that? Why do these stats always show up the same? Why is every map of the world this color?
And fatherlessness in Sub-Saharan Africa actually quite bad as well.
Yeah.
Crazy and while they had they still have slavery to this day in Sub-Saharan Africa. It's practically the only place in the world where it is still practiced openly, and yet even the tribes that have the uppermost hand, they still struggle with these things. And this is not in. Before everybody gets on here and starts screaming and crying, which our audience does not like to do, but people who are going to dig through this, this is not something that we're relishing. This is not something that we think is awesome and hilarious. And it's like, statistical anomalies are funny sometimes, but these are real people with real lives who are in a very bad predicament. And, we don't bring something like this up to say, we're so much better than them. It's like, we bring this up to say, there is a real problem here that is being not just unaddressed, not just ignored, but actively hidden and lied about. Yeah. You are being actively deceived as to the true nature of the world around you.
Yeah, so this last one that I brought up, this one, it's from 2018. Numbers haven't really changed much. And this one gets shared a lot. So I wanted to show kind of ones that everyone always brings up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is from 2018. This is the one you usually see in the meme where the camera's focusing on the white on black number there.
Mm-hmm.
So
interracial violent crime incidents in 2018.
Yeah. I mean, it's so what's interesting about this, it's broken down into each race against every other race because it's interracial violent crime. So on this chart is not shown the vast majority of violent crime, which is intraracial.
Yeah.
So that is something
the majority
to note.
of crime is black on black and white on white.
Yeah.
Because people tend to self-sort into communities of liking kind.
Right.
And then they tend to commit violence. Well, or all crime. They tend to commit all crime within those same communities.
Right. Violent crime, for the record, is things like rape, murder,
battery, assault and battery.
Yeah. Armed robbery. I would imagine any robbery doesn't necessarily fall into this, but armed robbery for sure.
Yeah, pickpocketing doesn't fall into violent crime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's anything where you are using force to do the crime. So yeah, it's the ones that are always led by this group on the left here. For the record, when talking about violent crime incidents, if you broke this down, have you ever heard the stat that white men raping black women is like statistically zero?
Yeah, it is. It is
so
pretty
low.
Bizarre.
Yeah, it's so incredibly low that statistically it's zero. Now I know statistical zero is an interesting thing, but it's so low that it wouldn't show up on this bar graph. Like you'd have to lie about the size of just so you could see it. Like you'd have to lie about the size of the line that you put there.
So one thing that you do have to keep in mind with this graph in particular, though, is that whites in 2018 are a majority of the population. So if you imagine that, some criminal of any given ethnicity is going to commit a random act of violence on the first person he sees, statistics are pretty good that it's going to be a white person. And then, after that, a black, and then after that, a Hispanic, within those three categories on this chart. Yeah. So that is part of, but not wholly, what drives this statistic. Because you can see it's black on white is the highest, Hispanic on white is the next, and then it's white on Hispanic, then black on Hispanic, then Hispanic on black. Some of that also might be due to some of the self-sorting that I talked about before, black on Hispanic. If you live in Texas or really any place with a decent Hispanic community and a notable African-American community, you will notice that they do not mix. You will drive by job sites and, the people who are hiring workers, they'll have either a Hispanic crew or a black crew. And it's very, very rare that you get both. They do not mix well. Interestingly, you can have one white guy or two white guys on a Hispanic crew, or a couple white guys on a black crew, or a couple black guys on a white crew. But it just seems like as soon as the Hispanics and the blacks get together, they don't mix well. They don't play well with each other.
To put in perspective, people that are just listening, with this bar graph, the by far the largest one is black on white. About 2/3 of that is Hispanic on white, and then about half of that is white on Hispanic. But then white on black is just like almost,
almost 1/10 of the black on white.
Yeah.
And when you consider that whites as a percentage of population are much larger, that there are more white criminals than black criminals, not per capita, but overall, just simply because of the larger population. And then you look at this disparity of black on white versus white on black. It really does I mean, it really
Yeah,
does
these
show
are
that most white
these are
criminals are targeting whites. Most black criminals are targeting blacks, but if they're not, they're targeting whites or
these are
Hispanics.
overall numbers. So
Hmm.
these are not per capita numbers.
Yes.
So we're talking about a group that is 13%. I think they're down to 12 now because of all the both legal and illegal immigration. But you're talking about 13% of the population doing this 547,948. And then, in 2018, where we're looking at 70% ish of the population, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I'm not familiar enough with the numbers, but probably
Let's be
something.
generous and say
Yeah.
70%.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at white on black is 59,778. So huge disparity there.
Yeah.
And even who said this?
And this is not to say that there should be more white on black crime. This is just observing numbers. This is simply noticing.
That's not the way we should even these numbers out. There's a much easier way, or there's a much more peaceful way to even the numbers out. I did want to share this because I had saw this as well. Our buddy Chris Head, Colin Flaherty pointed out that in 2016, the New York Times said 3/4 of mass shooters are black. Now that number is going to depend on how you define a mass shooter, because when they want that number to be very high, they'll say that a mass shooting is 3 or more people.
Mm-hmm. So,
but if they use that number, then the vast majority are black.
Yeah. So if you use that descriptor, then if 2 guys attack another guy, that's 3 people total, right? 2 guys attack another guy, and they all have guns and shoot at each other. Even if nobody is struck by a bullet, statistically that is counted as a mass shooting.
Yeah.
Now, they play fast and loose with the numbers, though, because when they want mass shootings to be really high, they'll include those. When they don't want mass shootings to be very high, because they want there to be a racial component, they'll often say something like school shootings, and then they'll play different word games in order to get the achieved outcome that they want. Do they want to make white males look dangerous? Then let's choose this very intricate category. Let's put all these caveats on. It has to be an assault rifle as opposed to a pistol. It has to be, not just on school grounds, but in the school itself. The target has to be students. And it's like, when you're playing numbers, games with the numbers, when you're playing with the options like that, you're just deceiving the masses. There's lies, there's damned lies, and then there's statistics.
Yeah. Speaking of statistics, I had heard a couple years back that the FBI was going to no longer be doing crime stats by race. Is that true? They weren't going to include that table. I forget which table it is, but it's the same one every year.
They were going to stop recording the crimes by race because they didn't want to be because you can get information like that with a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act. And so if they have the information, they are forced by law to release it. And they were so tired of people showing the graph that you just showed and saying, hey, what's going on here? And so they said, we're going to stop recording these crimes. We're going to stop recording the race of these crimes in order to prevent that. Now, whether that actually happened or not, I don't know. It's one thing for them to announce they're going to do something. It's another thing for them to actually do something like that. It would seem to me that would be
Table 43
legally very, very dubious, because how do you get away with how do you get away with something like that? So
is this what I thought? No, dang it. Sorry. I was looking for a specific meme and a chart came up, and I was like, I thought I had found the elusive chart, but it didn't.
All right. So are we ready to go through the chats for the segment?
Yeah.
All right. Jay Linscheid says, I'm expecting you to keep going for 4 hours so I don't fall asleep. Well, Jay Linscheid, we are not going to go for 4 hours unless something really exciting happens. I'm not going to write it off completely. But we are here. We are here. We are here for your drive home Listen carefully as we bring to you the smooth sounds of crimes by statistics that are unapproved of by the regime. All right. Lion of the North says GE. I assume that's a variation of GM, which is good morning
Good
for
evening.
good evening. So
Yeah.
good evening to you, Mr. Lion of the North. Josh Woody, we talked about this.
We
1
already
in
talked about
22 black men will commit murder. 1 in 425 white men will commit murder. Socioeconomics. Am I right? Socioeconomics. Is that right? I had this to say about that. Dad, why do
Yeah.
dogs look so different? Because of their breeding. Why are some so big and some small? Their genes, of course. And why are some clever and others not? Purely economic factors, socioeconomic factors. Yeah, sure enough. Let's see. Jay Lynchite again. 1 out of 22 will be caught. That is correct. These are not only caught but convicted numbers. Because when you're talking in statistics like this, you can't include accusations because they are not proven in a court of law. So not only are these people who are caught, but these are people who have been convicted of said crime. Because statistically speaking, you're not able to consider it a crime until it has been convicted in a court of law. Joshua Scott, urban centers are sin aggregators. Maine's pretty nice. Wonder what they got going on there. Current statistics are atrocious. Has this statistic been the same in the past, in the 1980s and the 1940s?
It's a good question.
That's a good question. And
it.
if you dig deep enough and you dig greedily enough, perhaps you will find the Balrog. Chris Head, fashionably late to the party, but here, hey, everyone. Hey, Chris Head.
I have heard, to answer the Joshua Scott question, this is anecdotal. I'm going to say that for the record. I had listened to an interview with this old white woman who grew up in Los Angeles. And what she said was, we didn't have all these murders back then because in her understanding, they were kept in their place. So whatever it was that changed in policing, that was her anecdotal answer to why suddenly the spike has happened. Now, again, the spike hasn't happened across all racial lines, but that was the answer back then. Mm-hmm. And then the other stat, I couldn't find the chart, but everyone has seen it, I'm sure, where it breaks down murder by race and income. Have you seen that one?
Yeah,
I couldn't find it. I looked for it.
That first came up because of a JonTron versus was it Destiny? If it wasn't Destiny, it was some other internet homosexual like him. But JonTron was debating, I believe, Destiny, and Destiny was bringing up crime by race, and he's like, yeah, but it's based on income. And JonTron said, well, if it's based on income, then how come is it that poor rich blacks commit more crime per capita than poor whites?
Yeah.
And just absolutely blew his mind. His response was, wait, what? Which intellectually undefeated response right there.
But it is true.
Wait, what?
Yeah, mm-hmm. That's not a made up idea. So the whole idea that it's income, blown away by that stat. Mm-hmm. Right? What are some other excuses we get? History of the people within that country. Well, if the numbers are the same across every single country,
then it's not country specific.
Blows away that excuse, right? So what is the only
what
thing?
Is the common denominator?
So I would just like to hear it. If that's not what's going on. Now, I don't know. I've been accused of like racial, what do they call it? Racial determinism or something like that. Mm-hmm. My point in all this is not that race determines these numbers. My point is that race coincides with these numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know what's determining it. I don't have an all-knowing third person omniscient looking at all the stats and the people and I know exactly what's happened.
Yeah, the people the thing people love to say is, correlation does not equate causation. It's like, yes, that is correct, but it does point to causation, which means there's a cause somewhere.
Yeah.
And we may not know what it is, but there is a cause somewhere.
Anyways, back to the comments. I just want to put that in there.
Chris Head, Colin Flaherty pointed out that in 2016, New York Times
Already
said
brought that one up.
3/4 of mass shooters are black. Correct. Chris Head again. Joshua Scott, howdy. Yes. Say hello to each other in the chat. Fist bump. Absolutely. Sockeye Beer Company, I switched over.
I think he's saying he switched over to YouTube. Yeah,
Okay.
switched over. Yeah. I'm a woman now, guys. I present female.
Joshua Scott, good to see more brothers enjoying the conversation. We're glad to see people.
Don't read the.
All right. We'll skip the ones that are just hi. Jay Linscheid, my uncle always said you can't.
That's the one I don't want you reading.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's inappropriate. I'm not a fan of that.
I don't think that's what's going on, my guy. That's not what's going on. Sockeye, I asked ChatGPT if it is true that blacks are approximately 13% of the population living in south of Atlanta. There is a lot of blacks. It's like South Africa here. Come to find out, Atlanta. I think it's continued. Come to find out, Atlanta is the black mecca. There is a great migration. Well, when the slaves were emancipated in the South, there was a great migration outward, but it was not the entirety of the population. The vast majority of blacks in the United States live in the South, and that is because that's where they were brought. They were brought there to work on plantations, and they did that for a good long while, and then they were emancipated, and they didn't go very far. People in the history of the world tend to stay where they're put, which is why migrations are so well studied, because they leave a lot of evidence, because it doesn't happen every day. These are phenomenal occurrences. So, yeah, that is one thing statistically when you look at like life expectancy and quality of life. The South always looms large on bad life expectancy and bad quality of life. And everybody's like, oh, these Republican Southerners, they're just so primitive. And it's like, well, break it down by race. What are you going to find? The whites that live in Georgia are going to have a similar quality of life to the whites that live in Maine. It's going to be a little poorer sometimes, but, Maine's got lumberjacks who are poor too. These things are very, very consistent. Sockeye Beard Company, that explains why I'm feeling like they're the majority as the media projects them in everything, including commercials with commercials with white wives, like President Biden said, why is that? You're trying to sell soap. Yeah, they're not the majority everywhere, but there are places where they are. People tend to self-sort. People tend to congregate around like and kind, and there's not that there's anything wrong with that. Literally was listening to while driving home now. Well, stay safe. Zachariah Jackson. My bad. Zachariah Jackson. Chris Head. I miss Colin talking about the fellas. Chris Hookins. Our recent drive through the South from Texas to Montgomery, Alabama was pretty eye-opening. I don't remember so many blacks from 10 years ago. Well, maybe you're taking a different route. Maybe they're living closer to the highway, or maybe there are more of them. It'll take a while for those statistics to wash out. Lynchide, Peter Santinello was interviewing a cop who was talking about the murder and homicide rates in comparison to the 70s and revealed that the only reason there are fewer homicides now is better medicine.
That is interesting.
I
cannot verify that, but
the witness of a cop talking about that, I don't know how reliable that is, but it's somebody with some experience. Sockeye Beard Company, referring to Chris Hookins, there's an intentional migration of blacks to the South, mostly from California and the Northeast. Yeah, they're dumping their African Americans on the South, and it does seem to be intentional because it's being done by non-government organizations that keep paperwork, and you can keep tabs on such things. Lynchide, cops trained and equipped as medical first responders. said this. Oh, this is a continued from better medical and cops trained and equipped as medical first responders. Said the amount of violence and attempted murder is much higher, but just less likely to result in death. Interesting anecdote, worth considering. Purely anecdotal, but definitely worth considering. You know what you call multiple anecdotes? Evidence. So maybe there's something to that. Sockeye Beer Company, I personally would prefer to live among the colorblind, but race is clearly real. Therefore, expression, culture, is based on genetics is real. I don't know if you can derive that, but there are certainly things pointing toward things. I
that's
personally
what statistics are.
Yeah, I like to live among the colorblind. We used to. The 1990s was a very interesting time.
Yep.
I was alive for the late 90s and the early thousands, and I was raised in a colorblind society. White people were singing gangster rap, and we were all eating the same food and drinking the same drink and singing the same music. At least some of us were. I wasn't, because my parents cared about me. But you go down to the skate park, and there wasn't like segregation based on race. There would be a couple black guys, there'd be the majority of white guys, but there'd be an odd Hispanic here and there. But we'd riff on each other a little bit. There was no hatred, there was no animus. But there were times in the 90s and the early thousands, with the LA race riots, with O.J. Simpson, when the veil was torn and you saw things for what they really were, which is the whites wanted to live in a colorblind society and the blacks did not. And when you have a society like that, and I'm speaking broadly, of course, there have always been whites who don't want to be colorblind, and there have always been blacks who have. But speaking broadly, it's a one-way street, and it just doesn't work that way.
The reason that white people stop being colorblind, and they have, younger white dudes especially, is because the differences are so stark. It's such a stark contrast between, blacks and either whites or Asians. Hispanics do a weird, again, like a lot of their stats are like twice as bad as white people, but nothing compared to blacks. So, I mean, the differences are so stark. So, yeah, people could be colorblind if those differences didn't exist, if there wasn't this ridiculous murder rate, if it wasn't true that you could remove 60% of the violent crimes by getting rid of 12% of the population. I mean, that's these are just true things. I'm not saying it's moral to just do a Thanos snap and boom, everyone's gone. But if you did, that would solve 60% of the violent crimes, to the point where, like I had said, where you rank in the world map of statistics is going to be based on race within America. So if you want European levels, in fact, if you look at us, especially gun crime are really interesting stats to look at, because people say, oh, you got this gun problem in America. And if you break it down by race, like white people in America commit far, far fewer murders with guns than maybe not far, far fewer, but we rank lower than some of the countries you'd be surprised about, like France.
France
or in Europe at that point.
Yeah, France is renowned for having gun crime, despite having some of the strictest gun laws in the world, and it's because they have a very porous border with North Africa. A lot of guns come over on boats, small boats full of Africans and AK-47s, and they have quite a considerable amount of crime with guns, considering how strict the gun laws are. Whereas Switzerland, a country that touches France, where gun ownership is not only legal but mandatory for a particular part of the population, the gun crime is practically zero. So, Republicans love to point to those two countries and be like, look, gun laws don't work. But if you also look at the racial demographic breakdown of those gun crimes in France versus the lack of gun crimes in Switzerland, there's something going on there too. Sockeye Beer Company, I personally experienced being mobbed by a group of teens on more than one occasion. Growing up in Griffin, Georgia, the stuff you see today was already happening. Many such cases, I'm afraid. All right. Well, I think we'll roll into our segment. We're about an hour in, so that's about right. Just rolled past the hour mark. So, what was I doing this weekend? Well, I went to the Christ is King conference. It was held in Temple, Texas, by Right Response Ministries. Joel Webbon is the lead pastor of that church there, and he had quite a slew of speakers at the conference this year. He likes to go big. He gets lots of different speakers, and he gets lots of different perspectives. We'll see that caused some controversy this time around. But, despite the fact that he has such a contentious brew of this motley crew, I think he's doing something which I wish more people would try to do, which is coalition building. Okay. It is more important right now than ever that we have coalition, that we know who our friends are, that we're able to get along with them. And it's not good for us to constantly be squabbling and fighting. So he's trying to bring in these people here that were at this conference, speakers. They were not all people that agree with each other on everything. But the name of the conference is, let's take a look at this right now. Christ is King, How to Defeat Trashworld. And this Trashworld is kind of a riff on, positive world, negative world, which is, a concept that's being talked about as far as the Christian culture of a society is concerned. But what is Trashworld? Well, Trashworld is, fake and gay race communism. It is the society we live in today that embraces just every kind of vile degeneracy. So we had quite a couple speakers. You've got pictures here of, Ben Garrett, Dan Burkholder, and Eric Kahn, great guys from Ogden, Utah. We love what they're doing out there. CJ Angle and Andrew Isker, of course, great dudes standing for the faith.
But this is gonna be how we are in like 10 years. You're gonna be the guy who has the big picture, and then I'm gonna be the guy with the little circle picture.
You're gonna be little John Harris kicked to the corner.
Yeah. Well, I was just noting because it was like Andrew Isker is like this gigantic picture, and then CJ Ingles like a little.
Well, Andrew Isker is a ginormous man, so yeah. he deserves the big picture. But these men are not all people who agree with each other, and he caught a bit of flack for this. So there are, let's just say, Calvin Robinson. Calvin Robinson is this individual right here. He is an Anglican minister in the Church of England. He is now living in North America, in the United States. But he is just barely Protestant, technically speaking. Just barely Protestant. He tends to refer to himself as Anglo-Catholic, as some Anglican ministers are wont to do. And there are some problematic views that he holds. He believes in praying to saints and angels, as every Roman Catholic does. And he believes in a unified church and state. So he is not pro separation of church and state, which one would not expect from someone who is an Anglican minister from England. In England, they do not have a separation of church and state. They have a state church. And shock of shocks, they like it. If they didn't like it, they wouldn't have it, right? So several people decided they were going to pull out. You'll notice on this picture that Dusty Devers is still there. Dusty Devers did not show up to the conference.
Was that a surprise? Like day of, that was a surprise, or?
No, it was not a surprise day of, because
Okay.
when when we look at the schedule, which
Mhm.
this is small, you're not going to be able to read it all, but his name does not show up on here. We've known for a while that, actually, I may be misspeaking. It was originally there was supposed to be a speaker. There was shoot. I'm sorry, guys. I have been staying up till 1 a.m. chatting with guys, and my brain is shot. But Durbin, Jeff
Oh,
Durbin
that's
was
right.
supposed to be a speaker,
Yeah.
and he pulled out. Supposedly, he pulled out because of some supposed anti-Semitic positions by some people somewhere. The person that he pointed at was Stephen Wolf, which to me is hilarious because Stephen Wolf is rather mild when compared to several of the men in this picture on his left. Your left, my right. Eric Kahn, Andrew Isker, much more vocal about the Jewish people and their high performance, so to speak. So, he pulled out and he was replaced by Calvin Robinson. And I believe it was Mr. Devers who had a problem with that. So
I wanted to note on something that you had said, that I don't even consider everyone on this picture to be a co-belligerent in most cases. A lot of these guys are just constant counter signalers. John Harris has taken that upon himself to just be the counter signaling guy over everything. Everything he's got a counter signal. I don't know exactly who the guy is second from on the right. So between Khan and Isker.
That is Mr. David Reese. He is I'll get to him in a bit. He was one of the last speakers, and he and Stephen Wolf actually sat down to a debate of sorts. And I think
nice.
I think
okay. Well, I'll let you get, because that's a guy.
But
that's a guy that said some really crazy stuff on the Twitters recently.
Talking about David Reese.
Yeah,
I do not follow him, so I
want to say he's very like Covenanter type. So he was just like crapping on 99% of what people believed in church history and saying that it was unbiblical. So
many such cases. Covenanters are they're cringe. Yeah. You heard it here, folks. Covenanters are cringe.
Yeah.
And I see you in the comment section typing away. Yeah, I don't even Covenanters are cringe, dude. I do this podcast on a Sunday evening. I'm not a Covenanter. But you can still be my brother. Just
not on Sunday.
All right. So I'm going to do a survey of just some of my favorite tweets from the thing. Eric Kahn, opening night at Right Response Ministries, off to a great start with Boniface Option. Boniface Option is Andrew Isker. He did have the opening talk. And you will see on this table that Eric Kahn is looking over this 4-leaf clover, this table right here, covered with books that say, Who is My Neighbor? So our friend Thomas Accord, who has been on the show, friend of the show, lovely man, he was there, and he brought 100 copies of Who is My Neighbor to sell and to give away to his friends. And we sold every single one of those books by Saturday afternoon. So
congratulations. That's awesome.
We are ecstatic about that. And Eric Kahn was in the booth right next to us. We were having a great time visiting with him as well. So, Thomas was there. He made his presence, and people came and said hi. And that was just very nice. A good little trip. If you are not following Andrew Isker, his @ on Twitter is at Boniface Option. Go follow him. And if you do not know who Andrew Isker is, please look him up. But if you're looking for an introduction, a very good introduction, there is a wonderful video from a wonderful man named Doug Wilson, where he interviewed the brilliant and loving Andrew Isker. on this show that he calls Doug and Friends. And because Andrew Isker is a friend, Douglas Wilson is such a good friend of Andrew Isker. And he asks him some questions, and he, it might sound antagonistic. It might sound like he was trying to trap him. But, Andrew just had the perfect answers to these questions. And it was such a lovely thing. What if it's not envy? What if it's not envy? So after Andrew Isker, the first night, we came back the next day, and the opening speaker was Calvin Robinson. Like I mentioned before, Calvin Robinson is an Englishman, and he has a rhetorical style, which is, let's black pill you for the first 3/4 of my talk, or the first 3/4 of my show. We are just going to absolutely black pill, and then at the end, I'm going to tell you, don't give up. It's not over yet. We're going to win. And, then he white pills you to leave. And, it's sometimes the black pills are necessary. Sometimes you have to take the black pills. But the solution at the end of it all is take the Jesus pill. Take the God pill. Because Jesus is the only thing that's going to get us through. If you don't love your people, you won't survive. And if you don't love Christ, you're not going to do a very good job of loving your people. Take the God pill, love your people, love your place, but be obedient to God, because the man who does not protect his own family is worse than an unbeliever. That's in the Bible.
What is Calvin Robinson's current situation as far as being ordained? Wasn't he with a church that let him go or something?
It is very up in the air. I've not talked to Mr. Robinson, Father Robinson. I don't, guys. I'm a Baptist. I'm sorry. I'm not going to call him Father, but Brother Robinson. I've not talked to him personally. I did talk to him at the conference, but not about his ordination. And from what I understand, there was a letter that went out that said, "We revoke your ordination. You are no longer pastor of your church." And then, they didn't send anybody to replace him. They didn't send anybody to remove him. So he's just like, okay,
I'm good.
Yeah. Next Sunday, I'll see you same time, same place.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Very interesting. So anyway, after Brother Robinson, we broke for lunch and we came back, and there was a panel discussion. These were actually, in my mind, these were the most fun. Not always the most productive, but the most fun parts of the conference were the panel discussions. People get to riff on each other, but everybody loves the panel discussions. It brings back the nostalgic memories of R.C. Sproul and John MacArthur. And, they're going back and forth, Baptist versus Presbyterian. And, these two men who loved each other so well and had serious disagreements about some pretty important parts of theology. But this panel here, Small World, follow him if you're inclined. He's a good dude. Says, most concerning panel with Boniface Option, Tom Ponbadil, and Right Response Ministry, Dan Burkholder, A.D. Robles, Contra Mordor, Eric Kahn. So, these guys come out there, and you can see a Boniface Auction. He's doing up. What's wrong with you people? He's doing that pose.
Who is Tom Ponbadil?
Tom Ponbadil is Dan Burkholder, I believe. No, Ben Garrett. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was gonna say he shows up a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I was like, what is his actual name?
Yeah, he was there. He was out repping his book, "The World Is Not Just Stuff." Haunted Cosmos, their book that they put there. Those were passed around at the conference. I got a copy, and I look forward to looking through it. So there's your panel right there. But dun, 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 dun. Sorry for the cringe, but what is this? I said, we are about to achieve levels of concern like you have not even dreamed. Who's that on the right there? Now, I apologize. My camera is a potato.
Yeah.
My phone is awful. Here is a better picture from Small World. Just got even more concerning with Thomas Accord. Thomas Accord did not just hide in the back of this conference. He made an appearance on stage, and he was eminently reasonable. One might even say moderate. There are two eminently reasonable Latinos on this stage, and one is A.D. Robles and one is Thomas Accord. So, some of these people are radical, far-right extremists like C.J. Engel. But
Well, I will say Thomas Accord is sitting on the far right. Is he trying to signal something?
Your left, my right. My right, your
So tell
left.
me, tell me
yeah.
the situation of him walking on stage. Was he just like pulled out of the crowd? Like, hey, we want you up here?
So what happened was before this panel, somebody came and spirited Thomas away, and I was manning his booth in his absence, which was a lot of fun. And I was just like, man, where'd Thomas go? And I don't know if this was planned very far in advance or if it's a spur of the moment. They're just like, hey, Thomas, let's go throw you up on stage there too. But Joel Webbon is the one who brought that about, and we're very appreciative to him for involving Thomas in this way. I mean, it's great. Thomas is a very smart guy, and exactly what we need. More of this, everybody. And then, after that panel discussion, we had Steve Deace. Steve Deace is a radio host from Iowa. Evidently, he's a big mover and shaker on the AM radio. I have not listened to AM radio since Rush Limbaugh died. So, I think that I think the days of AM radio are numbered. I think it's about gone. But Steve Deace evidently is very good at what he does, not just on AM radio. He's got, his website. His broadcast is also a podcast, so you can listen to the Steve Deace Show. And he got up there, and his talk was bizarre. It was, Thomas and I were sitting next to each other, and we were kind of saying back and forth, it's beautiful rhetoric, but I don't know what he said. He seemed like he was talking about something. He seemed like he was talking about somebody. He was criticizing being too extreme. And later I heard one guy say, I think it was an argument that he had with somebody on Twitter that he was talking about. And since a lot of us had no idea what that argument that he had on Twitter was, we were left just a little bit dazed and confused, so to speak. Unfortunate. But after Steve Deace, we had Eric Kahn. Eric Kahn talking on the Longhouse to become the most controversial figure. He talked about the Longhouse, the origins of feminism in the United States. Where did it come from? Who were the people that did this thing, and where did they come from? And why is it all Eastern Europeans who have a common ancestry? And he early life checked 2 or 3 people from the stage, taking no prisoners. So that was
did he pull out his phone and just
he literally said, the woman who spread feminism in America, and I forget her name, Rain or something like that. And he said, who was born by this name, a Russian Jew. And then he just kept on going. He called it like it was, gave no commentary, and kept on rolling. And as a strong man does, as a hard man does, he took no prisoners. He kept on rolling. And then to close out the night, Friday night, we had Aaron McIntyre. If you wrong button. Here we go. If you don't follow Aaron McIntyre, I recommend that you do so. His show is pretty good. It's not what I would say is required listening, but it's a good primer. If you're trying to figure out what's going on, he's pretty good. He's a tapper of signs. Do not make me tap the sign. He does that quite often because
his tweets are great.
I
don't listen to his show, but his tweets are great.
His tweets are better than his show, and his show is pretty good. So highly recommend. Follow him on Twitter if you are not already. His talk, it was kind of funny because his talk was like, if you've listened to his show, that was his talk. It's all the things that he always says, because they always need saying. It's a different audience. He's going to bring his best material and he's going to flaunt it. And he did. And that was good. All right. Then we had another panel discussion. And the panel discussion, so according to the panel, according to the website, the panel discussion was supposed to be, Devers, who did not show, John Harris, who got moved to the first panel on the first day because I believe he had some...
I want to take note of this because we keep talking about Devers not being there.
Mhm.
Lion of the North says, I think Devers didn't show up because he will be up for re-election soon in the future. Webbon seemed to allude to this at one point.
Well, that may be. And if that's the case, if he's not showing up because he doesn't want to counter signal, but not showing up because he's got stuff to do, if he's busy and just life came at you fast, maybe that's the case. And I'd love to be charitable that way. There's another way to read that, which is he doesn't want to be seen with us lowly folk, which if that's the case, then, that's unfortunate, but not the end of the world either.
You kind of have to pull the ladder up once you actually become a politician.
Yeah, it's you have to play. There's a reason that politics is bloody and dirty. It's not for nice guys. But anyway, the second panel was pretty much Ogden. It was like all Ogden. It was Eric Kahn. It was Dan Burkholder. It was Ben Garrett. It was Joel Webbon. And, we also had, I wish I had the picture because my memory is failing me. But believe we had Isker on the second panel as well. So it was a good time. It was a good time had by all. The panel discussions were fun. When those get released, watch those recordings because why wouldn't you? It's
is all of this going to be released?
Probably. After the panel discussion, William Wolf got up, or my bad, Stephen Wolf got up and did a talk. These things are going to be released at some point, but probably so. The way that Joel Webbon has done this before is he drops them kind of piecemeal several months later. So these things are available to the Patreon members for Right Response Ministry. If you pay him money, you can watch it live. You can watch it now. And you will start seeing clips from people who hate Stephen and people who hate Joel because they're going to pay money to watch it before the likes of us poors who are going to have to wait for the live stream. I mean, I say us poors. I was there. Yeah. So I heard it.
You're not us, bro. Don't try to...
Well, I'm still pretty poor, but this was in my backyard, so I couldn't pass it up.
It was, yeah.
So Stephen Wolf, give him a follow on Twitter. If you have not, what's wrong with you? Try to think clearly.
Yeah.
But after Stephen Wolf, we had David Reese, who did the talk about theonomy. And after...
Like pro or against?
Pro theonomy. So David Reese is a pro theonomy guy. He loves him some theonomy. Loves... Oh, man, I can't believe my brain is doing this to me. But... the Dabney respecters, the theonomy lovers, he's one of them, and more power to him. That's great. Love to see it. So his presentation was about theonomy. What is, what isn't, what are we talking about when we talk about theonomy? And it was a good little talk. He also talked about what is natural law, and he kind of had some categories of, I'm not saying this is what Stephen believes, but this is what natural law is understood to be. This is why I hold to theonomy. And it's practically, regulative principle for the state, as opposed to regulative principle of worship, it's regulative principle of state, which I don't hold to. I think that the Old Testament law is excellent. And I think it covers a lot of things. And I think where we are disobeying it, we are causing ourselves a lot of problems. But I don't think, for instance, speed limits are illegal because they're not in the Bible. Libertarian theonomists will have ways of justifying practically anything that they want to justify. But the one that I come back to is cannibalism is nowhere forbidden by Scripture. So is the Christian position on cannibalism that it's okay? Because if you're going to do regulative principle of the state, as long as you cook your human flesh, it is fully kosher. Because you're not allowed to eat blood, but if you cook it, it's okay. You're not allowed to kill somebody, but if he was publicly executed, why let his body go to waste? Let's eat it. Every common sense thinking Christian is going to know that there's something wrong with that. But the argument that they're going to have to make is going to come from natural law. You can't.
I want to say, for the record, I am not a theonomist, so do not lump me in there because Jeff just said that he is. All right.
Yeah, I consider myself a general equity natural law theonomist, and I know I'm tying things together that people say can't be tied together, but I think the state should build its law off of the Old Testament, but supplement it with common sense from natural law. And I think that is a very defendable position.
Well, you've got, English common law, which was the original basis for United States law, was essentially started from Mosaic law.
Exactly what I described is exactly what Alfred the Great did in England, is he took the Old Testament law and he applied it to his kingdom. Now, the difference that I would have is I think just like the Constitution's many amendments have perverted the original intent of the Constitution, the many amendments to English common law have strayed very far from its original intent, which was to emulate the just law of Old Testament Scripture.
So I would say, at this point, right, if you're trying, you seem like you want to go down this road,
Sure.
If a husband suspects that his wife is cheating on him, what would you say that in 2025 American law, what should we do about that?
If a husband suspects that his wife is cheating on him, he should hire a detective. Because the temple is no longer in existence and miraculous tests of faith are no longer
Why are miraculous tests of faith no longer
extant?
No longer good. Yeah.
Because the temple's not there. If you want
nothing
to argue,
do with the temple. Yeah, nothing to do with the temple.
It did. The priest was the one who administered that test, and if the priestly class is no longer there, then now I could see some general equity guys coming in and being like, "Well, you take it to your pastor," and I'm just going to put the kibosh on that right now. I'm a cessationist. I'm not a strict cessationist. I don't think miracles don't happen, but I don't think that those signs and seals are continuant. So I think hire a detective, man.
No, she must drink.
She's got to drink. She's got to drink the ash water.
Yeah, you got to drink it, man. What if a husband doesn't believe that? Well, I guess you'd say the same thing. If he doesn't believe that his wife was actually a virgin, then the parents have to bring the sheets out and say, look at this blood. Look at this blood stain. This is our daughter's hymen on this sheet.
I don't actually have a problem with that. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying, is that the law? Like that's the.
It should be. I mean, it would certainly cut down on premarital perversion in our society right now. Ooh. If you could, because I don't know what the statistics are, but I'm sure you could find them. But the number of women who are virgins on their wedding night, or at least before their wedding night,
gotta be single digits.
Yeah,
gotta be single digits.
I mean, God's been good to me, and we were both chaste till marriage, but I know how rare that is, and that's not to be judgmental on people. I mean, that is a gift that my parents gave to me, that is a gift that her parents gave to her, and that is a gift that we gave to each other, and it's a very special thing, and it's a very rare thing, unfortunately. And I am trying to raise my children the way that I was raised, the way that my wife was raised, so that they too are pure for their spouse, whomever that may be. But we're in a bad spot. We're in a bad spot.
I have. Well, you took us off track. I took us further down the track. So yeah. So you were gonna say that Stephen Wolf got into it with.
Yeah. So after David Reese's presentation, we had a panel discussion. It was not exactly a debate. You know, they had opening statements, and then they had questions for each other, and then they had closing statements. So it was not like a moderated formal debate. It was more of a panel discussion, and it was all right. I think Stephen defended his position quite well. I think Reese was very very aggressive, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know that this format lent itself well because Stephen was taking it very casually, and Reese was taking it very very seriously, and you could feel that. It was not like the tension in the room could be cut with a knife. It was not like they were about to come to blows, but it did feel a little lopsided. But it was still a good discussion. You know, the subject matter was very good, and both of these men are excellent at their craft. They're both very good, well-thinking people. So when that comes out, I do encourage you all to read it. All right, and so this conference.
You said you encourage people to read it. What does that mean?
Or not read it, to watch it.
Oh, okay, just checking. Okay,
I'm sorry. Thank you for catching me in that. But when Joel releases the video, which he will at some point, I think that's going to be the thing that people take away. There's going to be a couple things that people. There's going to be a couple things that people that from this conference that go on and have some staying power. I think Eric Kahn's talk, because of how bold it was and because of how blunt it was, I think Aaron Kahn's talk is going to be talked about a lot. I think the fact that Thomas was on stage during a discussion is going to be talked about a lot.
Yep.
And I think the discussion between Reese and Wolf is going to be considered quite a bit. I don't think any one of those three things are going to be resolved or going to change the world, but people are going to have problems with them. People are going to love them. People are going to be chatting about it. You're going to see it. So when these things get released, you heard it here first. It's going to be that way. So, but this conference was not without its controversies, and I'm going to get into a couple of those. But before we do, I want to pick up where we left off. Let's see, where do we leave off in the chat?
Next one is, let's see, those pictures are accurate to scale. Oh, yeah, he was talking about the initial. I think he's trying to say that Isker is that much bigger than Ingle.
Isker is a big dude. I mean,
he is, yeah.
If Andrew Isker were on the Vikings, they would actually have a good football team. I'm just going to say it. I don't follow football, but I have friends who do, and the Vikings, from what I understand, are pretty bad. But they might get better. I believe they have some prospects coming.
Let's see. The next one that we haven't already talked about, Deaver's absence was explained as an emergency and that he wanted to be there. Was that already said?
No, we're not to that one yet. So Sockeye Beard Company, I'm blowing up the chat, hoping to help change that for you.
I was just skipping that because it's not really.
Yeah. Help by sharing the show. Yes, share the show. If you think this is worth listening to, first off, what's wrong with you people? Second off, go to the link, copy it, text it to your dad, get disowned. Do the thing. Lion of the North, I think Deaver didn't show up because he will be up for re-election in the future. Webbon seems to allude to that at one point, and then Lynchide says it was explained as an emergency and that he wanted to be there. That's great to hear because I love Deaver. I think he's a great guy, and he's not afraid. And that's, for a politician to not be afraid, that's a unicorn.
Yeah,
You know,
I was just gonna say unicorn. That's exactly.
I
what
can
it
think
is.
of two. I can think of exactly two: Dusty Devers, Thomas Massey. That's it. It's like, if you're going to ask me, I'm in a chat right now where people are talking about this Muslim community in Texas, and somebody is like, "Oh, well, it's going to change because Abbott is mad. He's going to do something about it." And I said, I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold my breath for Abbott to get involved and do something about it, because I do not have faith in that man.
Greg Abbott is really going to stand up to these guys.
Yeah, he's really got a spine of steel, man. Sockeye Beer Company.
Hey, did you hear about there was like a congresswoman that what did she call him? She called him something like Wheels or something like
Hot
that.
Wheels.
Hot Wheels, that's what it was.
I remember hearing something like that. Hot Wheels.
My goodness. That's great.
Yeah, and I don't like her, and I kind of halfway like him, but it was still funny. Sockeye Beer Company. The constitutional republic is the closest to a Christian nation state that worked best thus far since 70 AD. That's my conviction at this time. Well, there's somebody who disagrees with you.
Yes.
And
I was going to say that.
His name is Samuel Johnson.
Yes.
And we have had him on this show, and we have had an interview with him. As a matter of fact, if you would like to debate him, we're trying to set up a debate right now. I believe we've got a serious contender right now, but I'm sure he'd be willing to do more than one.
There you go.
Yeah, Sockeye Beer Company.
It's public.
It's did he say the closest to a Christian national state? Please disregard all of those Christian nations, such as the Holy Roman Empire, which was not only holy because it was Christian, but it was Roman because it was the intellectual child of the Roman Empire, and it was an empire because it was made up of multiple nation states. So it was not only holy, but it was Roman, and it was an empire. So
it means your favorite history teacher's favorite joke is a lie.
Take that, you gay intellectuals.
Yeah.
All right. And then Sockeye Beer Company again.
I don't know what this is in response to this last, because it looks like he's debating someone.
He might be, but I don't know how the aggregated...
I checked the YouTube comments, and there was nothing in between. So
he says, no, I am not a national... NatSo, I believe that's National Socialist Law. Yeah. Just pointing how obvious it is, how unnatural we have become. So obvious, even a socialist dictator can see it. Okay. I'll take your word.
Yeah. What ifs?
Getting back to the conference. So the conference was not without its controversy. There were flyers and there were business cards being handed out that were not sanctioned by the event. And some of these were offensive, and some of them were retarded, and some of them were funny. But some of us were also peddling things that were not sanctioned by the event. For instance, I bought a pin for my lapel that is a cross of Jerusalem. The Jerusalem cross, the gold cross on a white background, and it's a fantastic pin. And I love it. It was not sanctioned by the event. Cost me $5. Hey, help out a brother. He came to the conference, told people on Twitter he'd be there, bought a pin, had a good time. But some of the things
I saw in pictures a couple of Jerusalem crosses.
Yeah, it was actually kind of half of the guys were walking around with them. Not all of them came from the one guy, but seemed to be a theme. But there was one guy who came by the booth and handed us all a card, and it said, "How to know if your church is heretical." And it was a business card, and it had his website on the back, and evidently he was a Roman Catholic.
Oh, my goodness.
Bald guy with a beard, tall, but kind of socially awkward, just walking around being like, "Hey, my priest told me to hand these out to you for penance. So, you please go to my website and come to mass tomorrow." It's just kind of that thing. So, he was a little socially awkward. I mean, I'm dogging on him a little bit because he's a Roman Catholic at a 1689 conference. It's like, there are greener pastures I don't know what you're doing here because this
Was
is
it
not
officially a
yet.
1689 conference? Because
I mean,
surely,
no, because like half the speakers, more than
yeah.
half the speakers, are Presbyterian. But it's like Webbon is 1689, right?
Okay.
So it's like Right Response
I didn't know
Ministries.
that. I know he's Reformed Baptist, but I didn't know
Yeah, so Right Response Ministries, Joel Webbon, he has a church that is, man, I forget the exact wording, but it's it has both Paedo and Credo Baptistic members, and it will perform both Paedo and Credo Baptistic baptisms depending on your personal conviction. As a matter of fact, the Ogden boys in Utah, despite the pastorate being all Paedo Baptist, they are also they do both. So you can be a 1689er at their church, and you will not be kicked out of the church for it.
I like this comment.
Lynn Scheid, I think I bought as many cigars at the conference as I've ever smoked in my life. That's right. They had a drawing, and one of the things that happened in the drawing is however many cigars you bought, you'd get a ticket for the drawing. And they also had, if you bought tickets for the next conference next year, same time, same station, don't touch that dial, at a discount, which I already wanted to get some at a discount, so I took advantage of that. You get a free cigar for every adult ticket. So I bought tickets for my wife and I I got 2 free cigars, and I bought a couple, and I got seven tickets to that raffle. And Lynn Scheid bought, I think, he bought a box, which is 20 or something like that. So he's going home with the backy. All right. So, but as far as controversies go, there was another controversy to be had. And where's my mouse? Hello. Where'd my mouse go? My mouse is acting funny. All right. Here we go. Share. All right. Evangelical Dark Web was there. He seemed to be a cool dude. Some people hate him. Some people love him. I thought he was just a normal guy. I don't know. I don't understand the haters. But he said some leaflets in the parking lot at Christ is King. Is your home church too gay? Your current church not fighting trash world? Your elders paralyzed by the post-war consensus? Instead of being isolated and impotent, unite. We're a Reformed church here in Temple, Texas, blah, 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 blah. That's his spiel. I don't even know what church this guy goes to. I'm from here. I know the Reformed churches, and I have no idea who this dude is.
Now, to be clear, you're not. It sounded like you were saying Evangelical Dark Web passed these out, but
no. He's posting the picture,
right?
And the guy that this flyer is from is Christian Imperialist, Exian Imperialist on Twitter. Do not follow, at least not yet. I have not vetted this guy. But he did post a video of follow-up for people that were criticizing him for this very dorky thing that he was this unsanctioned leaflet that was just kind of dumb. But I'm going to reach out to him. Maybe he's a good dude, but I don't know what's going on here. It seems like he's trying to snipe the locals. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. Too soon to tell. So we shall see. Redeem Zoomer says, disgusting that they're asking people to leave any churches that are not only liberal but not sufficiently right-wing. That is not how we win.
Oh, shut up.
Keep in mind, Redeem Zoomer is the guy who takes Eucharist from a woman pastor. So
he does. He has a woman pastor
applied.
He has a woman pastor?
I don't know if he currently does, but he's certainly had one in the past, and he defended it as the right thing to do. So, retard alert. While I think this flyer could have been done better, and I think it's a bit cringe, Redeemed Zoomer takes the cringe award. And then, but that was not the only controversial thing to happen at this conference. So I posted this after the conference. Brantley Ryder is retarded. This post is unavailable. Why?
That didn't happen. That didn't happen at the conference, right? Like,
I was at the conference when I tweeted this. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I say, Brantley Ryder, be sure to block me here on Twitter too, not just Facebook. He did block me on Facebook. He blocked me on Twitter, and he protected his tweets. If you go to his tweets right now, he calls himself Trump's spiritual advisor. This dorky dweeb who has never been within a mile of Donald Trump calls himself Donald Trump's spiritual advisor. He calls himself a social media influencer. It's like, come on, dude. But these posts are protected. What happened?
Do we have
the
a
internet?
screenshot?
The internet is coming after him, and why? Because of this. Philip Derrida with the screen cap. Thank you, Philip. Give him a follow. He's a good dude. The new civil rights religion often mimics other institutions in the civil rights regime. Does this seem more like an evangelical or ecclesiastical document about souls, or a Department of Justice Civil Rights Division document? And he screen capped this Facebook post from Brantley McDonald. Those who went to the white supremacist conference this weekend and have godly churches to return to should be receiving this when they arrive to church this Sunday. Notice of church discipline.
This was my post when I saw it. The first thing I thought was, if I printed this out, I couldn't actually put my name or... Yeah, he changed it. This used to say name of... Oh, no, it does say that. Okay, your elders and then your name.
File number is conveniently left blank. But your name here, I can't put my name there, as Sean so eloquently put in his sharing of this. I can't put my name there because you put your name here in the blank. Yeah. So how am I supposed to fill this out and give it to my elder? But it's just a formal announcement that your elders unanimously agreed to place you under discipline of your local church. And he said, if you're in a different post, he says, if your elders don't sign this document, then please tell me so I can take them off of my list of recommended churches that 5 people look at, 5 people who don't even go to church. So it's like, this guy is not a serious person. He is not somebody to be taken seriously. He has 400 followers on Facebook because he has a Facebook page called Based or Cringe. And he's not a genius. The reason the page works is because people tag stuff and they're like, hey, is this based or is it cringe?
Yeah. It's the same way that Indians get a lot of clicks. And
I mean, it's a gimmick. It's a gimmick. And I'm not against gimmicks per se, but it's like, this is not a serious person. But who is this person? Well, his name is Brantley Ryder. He is a single dad. He is 27 and divorced. And he harasses people in megachurch parking lots for going to cult churches. Some of these churches that he harasses people in the parking lots are actually churches that have pastors with Trinitarian heresies. And some of them are just cults because he decided that they're cults. But what about this? You should put it back up. This guy, Brantley Ryder, has been arrested twice for domestic violence and once for breaking into a vehicle. This is Dark Donnie coming in clutch. Everybody follow Dark Donnie. He's a bro.
He's a good guy.
But there are your mugshots of the dweeb, this manlet who is going to go around telling everybody that they're arch heretics and need to be kicked out of their church. And if the church doesn't kick you out, it's going to take it off of his super secret squirrel list of all 5 Orthodox churches that are left in the world.
For the record, the reason that you're calling him a manlet is that his arrest record shows him at 5'9", 120 pounds. If you can believe that. I couldn't do that if I tried. Mm-hmm. I'd look like, what's his face in the machine.
Get down to 5'9", no matter how hard you try.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like getting down to 120, I'm just trying to think, like getting down to 120.
I could do it, but I would be a skinny waif. But I think there was somebody who once said when talking about somebody else, that's the kind of person who I would put in my harem. It's like not a wise thing for that person to have said, but he was referring to how womanish the guy looked. This guy fits the bill for sure. But anyway, Brantley Ryder threatened Dark Donnie. If you don't take that down, I'm going to sue you for libel. He says, here it is. He says, I will probably be suing you for defamation. There was no domestic violence committed, nor was the charge domestic violence. And here's the mugshot. Arrested in Gaston County, North Carolina. Additional information. There's your mugshot. There's your date of birth. And he's got a rap sheet, and you can look it up.
Also, Dark Donnie, charge your phone, bro. Did you see that screenshot? Look at that. Look at this.
Put on low power mode. We're about to go out. but anyway, unfortunately, this is standard abolitionist behavior. It seems like the abolitionist movement picks up a lot of cringe dorks. But you have good people. Dusty Devers, who we were just talking about, being a bro. He wanted to be there, but he couldn't. But he's fighting the good fight, and he's an abolitionist. He's actually putting his money where his mouth is. He's serving in office, doing something that doesn't make you lots of money unless you are very corrupt, and he is not, which means he will not be super rich, at least not from politics. So anyway, the controversies, such as they are, very, very silly. I was friends with him on Facebook just because of the based or cringe meme page. But the longer I was in there, the longer I was just getting really aggravated with his nonsense.
I was friends with him because I had so many mutuals.
Because he sends friend requests. Yeah,
I don't really vet people.
Yeah, I didn't send him a friend request. I pretty much don't send people friend requests unless I meet them in person. But I had a bunch of mutuals, and hopefully that changes. Because if he's protecting his tweets, then the pushback must be pretty extreme.
Oh, and, I promise he lost. He lost a ton of friends.
Hopefully he lost it all, because that will encourage him to change his ways and stop domestic violencing his ex-wife, allegedly, and stop breaking into her car, allegedly, so that I don't get sued. I'm going to say allegedly. Yeah. But, maybe he will stop being cringe and get a job.
Yeah.
All right. Back to the chats, and I've got a little surprise. It's not cringe, but it's some stuff that I wanted to look at just real quick at the end of the show. Lynchide, I think I bought as many cigars as I've ever smoked. And Lynchide again, we're living in trash world when 1689 Baptists are paying Presbyterians to teach them how to engage in politics. It's called capitalism.
Yeah.
You learn from the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's trash world for you. That's trash world. Oh man, what are you going to do about it? All right. Well, oops, I exited the tab that I was about to share. Well, let me see if I can find it real quick. While we are trying to find that, this is the other thing that I was going to share, which was there was a very fun video, not serious at all, just a fun little video that I thought it sparked a little joy, and I wanted to share it with everybody here, which is this right here.
Oh, there we go.
John Russell says green, red, blue, or orange. And
this was a lot of fun.
This was pretty fun. So I said blue, and
you're gonna full screen the.
Yeah, let's see.
There you go.
I don't know if it helped, but
it
there
works
we go.
For me.
Let's see what happens.
So for those
noise is unnecessary.
Well, what's great about the noise is that sometimes they'll go to the back and then go forward, and it sounds like they're speeding up, like with their engine.
Because the wheels suddenly start going faster.
This was crazy. You're like, oh no, I'm not gonna make it.
And then here comes Green coming back. Whoa,
Cheater!
What is he doing there?
Hanging on to the bar. I know. I eventually went up.
That's like not getting your chin above the bar on a pull-up. That's doesn't count. So, man, blue is taking a beating. I bet on blue because blue's my favorite color. I'm very sophisticated that way. I had a very good reason. But,
blue, I believe, is a Gen 1 Camaro. Red is some kind of modern.
He's so close to the back. He almost fell off. Whoa, there goes Green right off the track.
I disqualified Green at that
point. Out.
I gave it to
Blue. He's off the track. He's off
the second video's better.
Oh, there's a second?
Oh, there's a rematch, bro.
Oh, a rematch.
Yeah.
Well, let's find this real quick.
We got it.
But before we do, I wanted to just look at this comment right here. Adam Stein. Wife, are you excited we got the treadmill? We're going to be so skinny. Me.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Let's you haven't finished commenting yet. What is my comment?
It says you were writing a comment. Yeah, it says you're writing a comment.
Blue, I said still counts. Blue was the only one left on the track. Blue wins. Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
I don't know.
I would just
what
leave
you're on
the
about. Let's kill that. And let's see.
The second one
by Dunamai. By Dunamai. It is on sale.
Pictures of me and my wife in Afghanistan. Look at that.
Dude.
Oh, yeah.
Those glasses are dorky, man.
I know. Those are BCGs.
Yeah. Which my dad had a pair too.
Officially stands for ballistic combat glasses, but is colloquial known as birth control glasses.
Yeah, I have no idea why my dad ended up.
It's gonna be lower.
Let's see. It's not this one.
Now you're doing
us.
window and
that's
window.
Us.
Yeah.
There it
is, the rematch. I started this one off slow. I got it up to 3.6 miles an hour.
Okay.
Which I'm curious if anyone's a math person, what Hot Wheels are generally like, what the equivalent would be for a car of cars this size.
3.5 miles an hour at this scale.
Because I went out enough to where you can see how fast it's going. So it's at 2.6 right now, 2.8, 3. So this is a Hot Wheels car going at 3 miles an hour. But yeah, this was I'm going to make this a regular thing. I need to make
this is actually kind of fun.
If
you need to go faster though, nothing's happening.
Well, that's what I ended up doing. The other one, it was at 3 the whole time. But this one, we're at 3.2, 3.4. Once I get to 3.6, things start happening. So I said, no,
off he goes. Oh!
This is a brilliant move right here. Watch this one. Brilliant finish.
Boom! Whoa! All right, he went off the track. Does that count? Whoa! Blue again!
Blue made it.
Oh my god! My God!
If you want to send me a Hot Wheels car that you would like to compete against my champion, then which I guess we'll say Blue's my champion.
This might become a recurring segment.
We need to find a way that people get prizes for
to send in their Hot Wheels to the PO box. We'll have to set something up there, but. All right, and then on a less serious note, Josiah Lippincott, who is not somebody I follow, but he just kind of showed up in my feed. Let's see, is that sharing? No, that's not sharing. Let's try that again. Josiah Lippincott just showed up. Okay, hang on. I need to refresh my Rumble Studio because it's freaking out. And that might boot me, and it might boot you. But
no, don't do it. No.
If I did it right, which I think I did, we should all still be here. All right. We're fine here. How are you?
Well,
my favorite scene from all of Star Wars. Dude, what the heck? I don't know.
Are you going to be working on something for a bit? because I've got a song for this queued up.
Go ahead and share that. All right. Well, I have no idea what is going on with why this page. All right, I don't know what happened there, but
You booted us.
Rumble Studio will do this thing generally around the 2-hour mark, where it'll start throwing fits. And I know that it's about to do it because I suddenly stopped being able to share pages. So if I'm not sharing stuff and I'm clicking the button to share, and it's like, oh no, it's coming, coming. But
are we on the same link? It looks like it.
Unfortunately, I think that. Okay, so next time this happens, Sean, this is on air, us figuring it out. We need to crash course through the comments because I lost all the comments.
There wasn't anything new.
Okay.
I see that Z is in the chat. If anyone else wants to jump in the chat, and is this the same link? Like, did it cut for you? Tell us what it looks like on your end when that happens.
When this happens for them, we blink off and then we come back on. But the URL remains the same, so that remains unchanged.
Nothing too bad.
We will lose viewers anytime that happens, I'm sure, because they're like, these chuds.
Yeah, and, these guys suck.
You're right.
Oh well, yeah.
You're welcome.
That was always the conversation: was should we wait until we're good to record anything, or should we just go?
Or should we? Yeah, should we?
And
just
we
go
said,
for
just,
it? And we
just
said,
do it. Yeah,
just do it. Do it.
Okay. Didn't reload. Cool.
Yep. All right. So anyway, Josiah Lippincott, like I was saying, not somebody I follow on Twitter, but he's some political scientist, USMC, so URA, or I should say Hua, we better than you. I say that. I wasn't in the Army.
Marine, hoorah.
Yeah,
Army.
Hua. No, Army
is
Hua, we better than you. But
nobody says that.
No, nobody says that.
Because
they know they're not.
No.
I was not in the Army, but my dad was, and so we would make fun of, as is appropriate. We would make fun of Marines because they love to chew crayons. But this guy seems to have put away the crayons and became a political scientist. So good for him. Just goes to show, you can always improve yourself, even if you're a United States Marine. He says, "Why I hate free trade, a photo essay." And the phrase "a picture's worth 1,000 words." Absolutely, this is that. You see the Hillsdale Water Tower in the background, and in the foreground, you see a boarded up factory, a boarded up building of some sort, and the wood is old. Some of the wood is so old it's growing mold. So this is not a recent occurrence. There's, here's some more pictures of the same thing. I mean, look at this. Look at these old buildings. Look at this thing with a "now available for lease" sign. It's a gorgeous building.
Yeah, it's well done.
It says Alamo on it, which makes me like it even more. I can just picture myself on the roof shooting Mexicans. Clip that out of context, please.
Yeah. Our algorithm's going to be toast just because it picks up things like that.
And then here is that same building from the side. You see it's got a loading dock and it's got a very deep back end. I think this is the same complex. All 4 photos of this is all the same complex.
I always love in architecture when you have different, the location of it is really cool because you have different levels on either side.
Yeah, that's always fun. My across the street neighbors when I was a teenager had a house that was on one side higher than on the other side, and there were a lot of stairs in that house, and I had a bad knee, so a sports injury that never did heal right. But so after a while, I got kind of sick of it. But the novelty of the thing was pretty cool. And here we see this blue-gray building. It looks like it used to be a post office or something like that. It's got that kind of the structural look to it. And then this thing, which big old thing with a railhead behind it. You can see the rusty rails; those haven't had anything right on them in years. Beautiful big brick building, big windows for lots of light and lots of air. Before AC. Got a fun bay window overlooking traffic on the front of the building. What a fun place, but empty. Here's something a little more modern: a steel building, boarded up. You see those boards on the front doors, and actually those are just wooden doors, but it's empty. Got some sort of foundry or furnace thing going on the other side.
Is it connected to the building?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is that chimney actually connected to the building? Is that actually a chimney, or is it just a bunch of bricks?
Yeah, I don't see a shadow. That's weird.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
And then here, look at this thing.
Yeah, love it.
Look at
what
that.
city is this?
These are all from the same city.
It was Hillsdale.
Hillsdale.
What state is that?
I believe Hillsdale, North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. But he's about to say.
Okay.
And then there you see these. There's aerasive materials or merasive materials, something like that. Family-owned business. That's not a name that's known across the country. That's some small business, some family-run business. And now it's just an empty brick building. And look at it. It's got a railhead. It's got a dock. It's got a really big back end to it. Look at the, he's got these boxes on the roof. And if I weren't dead dog tired, I'd remember what those are called. But for keeping air movement, pre-electricity, pre-air conditioning days, it was very important to have air movement so that you weren't smothered in your own sweat. Look at this thing. Just a long building with big windows. Again, front's been a little updated. You can see those are more modern windows here than these ancient ones back there. But it's just a big shop, right? Business in front, shop in the back. We're kind of people you take there to get your transmission worked on or get your brakes adjusted. And then a big old hardware store. Big storefront, big red doors. Big loading dock for lots and lots of hardware going in. And people coming in and buying it.
See, I would like to see with this particular building. My father-in-law lives in Nashua, New Hampshire, and they have a building there called the Mill, which used to be a mill of some kind, and is now just tiny. I say tiny. It's basically like kind of office buildings now. Like so. My sister-in-law has her photography business out of there. So she has like her studio, all the props and whatever. And it looks just like, so that would be a great idea to do that. Like the dock at the mill is really helpful for all those businesses to be able to bring their stuff in. And then they take the, 100-year-old elevator to whatever floor they need to go to. That's an opportunity. When I see a building like that, I just think like, man, dude, if I had that initial cash.
Yeah. And, there are hundreds of people just like you who have an idea and know it can work, but they need the initial cash. And it's hard to find. It's like you gotta, the cash that I'm making, I'm investing directly into, properties, maintenance, feeding my kids, feeding my fat face.
Yeah, I'm investing in food.
Yeah. It's like, that's a lifestyle investment right there. Here you see, you've got some grain silos. Those look like they're still being used, still being maintained. But right in front of it, you've got some sort of big factory-looking building, and it's just empty. And this is a huge complex. You can see that. It's a huge complex, and there's nothing there. Nothing there. And, again, chimney, not attached to the building. What's going on there? But he says, Hillsdale has a population of 8,000 people. Within a mile of my house, I count 8 abandoned or mostly abandoned factories and 1 unused rail hub. Free trade has made the lives of me and my neighbors immeasurably worse. Hillsdale was once a thriving town on the cutting edge of technological and social development. Hillsdale, for instance, was electrified in 1888, the same year as Midtown Manhattan. So that's, I mean, for context.
Where did my stuff go?
For context, Texas became an independent nation from Mexico in 1836, and became a state in 1845. All right, so this is 40 years after Texas has become a state. 43 years later, this town has been electrified. It's like that's before the invention of the 6-shooter revolver, right? Or around that. Actually, it's not before then, but around that same time. It's like this is cutting edge. Mises Caucus replies and says, to paraphrase Ron Paul, free trade should not be condemned since we haven't had free trade. And they post a little video about free trade. I am Misesian to a degree, but I think this is a big L.
But for context, the Mises Caucus is a group of people within the already tiny Libertarian Party.
Yes, and the Mises Caucus does not actually represent the Mises Institute per se. They are a group of people in the Libertarian Party that hold to Misesian principles, some more than others, and I hold to Misesian principles, some more than others, but the ones I hold to seem to always be separate from the ones that the Mises Caucus holds to.
I'm assuming this is the same Hillsdale in Michigan.
That might be. But anyway, he replies, real communism has never been tried type energy. Their reply is essentially, free market has never been tried. And his reply is real communism has never been tried. I think, I think he's not wrong. We used to be a hub of industry in this country. And there was one thing that really helped with that, helped to maintain that, and that's tariffs. England became the steel producer of the world because they had tariffs on foreign steel. The United States became the car manufacturer of the world because they had tariffs on foreign cars. And, Mises was a free trade economist, and I like free trade when it benefits me and my people, but it doesn't always. There are some things that need to be grown at home, such as your food supply. Even the most libertarians I know realize that for security reasons, you need to at least grow a portion of your own food so that if you suddenly get embargoed, if somebody blocks your ports, your people don't all starve. It would be nice if you didn't have to do that, but in the real world, you need to maintain that. And the only way that you can encourage farmers to grow food when they can buy it cheaper overseas is to tariff those imports to keep them expensive. Yep. Keep those farmers well paid enough, and it drives up food prices. And people say, but that's making food more expensive. Yeah, it is. Cry about
it. The other thing that they'll do, which I disagree with doing, is they'll pay farmers to not farm. The federal government will. Mm-hmm. Now, I would say but to kind of answer that objection, you put up the tariffs, and now you only have this small amount of people farming in the United States. Well, all you have to do is stop paying the other farmland owners to not be farming. Mm-hmm. We subsidize farmers to not grow food.
Yeah.
Because we want to artificially raise
bump up the price.
Yeah.
And if you just tariffed imports of food, of that same food, you wouldn't have to do nearly as much. Now, it's not apples to apples, so to speak, because it's literally not apples to apples. We don't really import potatoes. We grow enough potatoes in Texas and Idaho and Indiana to feed multiple Americas. But we do import oranges from South America. Florida exports oranges. If you tariffed those oranges coming in from South America, the Floridian oranges would go to more Americans and fewer foreigners, because they could get a higher price and they wouldn't have to ship it overseas.
Yeah.
California grows the most oranges in the United States. A lot of those go to Asia, of all places, to be squeezed into juice to be sold as juice in the United States.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world?
To give some additional context for tariffs, I don't know how deep you want to go into the tariff thing, but
we got 15 minutes.
Sure. America as a whole are huge consumers. No other nation in the world comes close to what we consume. And so by putting tariffs on all these countries, we're not hurting ourselves. We're only hurting other people because their economies depend on us consuming their stuff. If we made that stuff at home, we'd still be consuming that same amount of stuff, but then your neighbor now has a job, and he's competing wage-wise with other Americans. He's not having to compete with Chin, the 5-year-old from China who's making Nikes. And that's another reason for tariffs, is that it raises the cost of labor. And I know a lot of people don't like that, but when you see the amount of money that executives are making, maybe they could stand to make a little less. Also, I've been listening to tariff stuff all week, so I've got just so much to say about tariffs. I am very pro-tariff. I think tariffs are great. Tariffs is how we used to fund the federal government before the income tax. The income tax is just wildly ridiculous. We had a thread in our monarchy group. Our friend Samuel Johnson had asked, like, what are the main objections to monarchy? And I jokingly said 2% tax on tea, because that was our reasoning, right? Like, you've gone too far. 2% tax on tea. Endless democracy now. And but now you compare that to like the crazy things we're taxed on. But anyways, tariffs was how we used to fund our federal government. And so other countries are under that system are funding our spending at the federal government. Yes, we need a lot of cuts, but I'm also down for Canada, paying our way. What was the other thing I wanted to say about tariffs?
You know who is a big fan of tariffs? Pat Buchanan.
Really?
And I am a big fan of Pat Buchanan. So I would say that my politics aligns very nicely with I've him.
Got State of Emergency right up in that area. Great book.
Yeah, I've got a couple of Buchanan books on my bookshelf. I've got Death of the West and Day of Reckoning. I also have some more in my bedroom. I have his evaluation of Winston Churchill, which is not positive.
Oh yeah.
Just to blow the cover on that.
For anyone who has never read or listened to Pat Buchanan, understand this: he is a dealer in black pills.
He is. Yeah. So there's a good friend of ours named something similar to Douglas, but it's not Douglas. But you know who I'm talking about, who's a Buchanan acolyte. Actually, has met and talked with him on multiple occasions, from what I understand, and has consumed all of his content and is thoroughly black-pilled, very discouraged, and it's a full-time job keeping that guy's toe off the trigger, so to speak. I mean, it's a bit rough. But you can take the black pills without. Well, don't go full black pill.
Yeah.
It's about the white pills, but you do need to know where you're at. You do need to have a realistic realization of what you are, and Buchanan definitely gets you that. All right, let's hop over to the chat. Lynn Scheid again says, Texans, remember the Alamo. Jeff, reenact the Alamo. Aziz says, factory before and after globalism posted on Telegram. So I'll go ahead and share that now. So here is the factory before. Look at that thing. Man, that is gorgeous. Evidently, this is before it's opening because you can see there's ladders and they're still kind of finishing it off. But gorgeous, beautiful building. Art Deco. I love Art Deco. Just great stuff.
That photo it says it was September 7th, 1929. For context, the greatest team of all time won the World Series just like a month after that, which would be the 29 Philadelphia Athletics. Put that in perspective, though. People talk about like 27 Yankees, right? That's 2 years before this. But like that's like your Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how long ago this was.
Yeah.
And we were building these amazing buildings.
Beautiful.
Like Art Deco. I say all the time, I don't remember who I'm quoting when I say this, but America was supposed to be Art Deco.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be what
that
we
was
did.
our inheritance. That was our cultural inheritance. Yeah.
And
it was the way we were going to set ourselves apart from the rest of the world.
Yep. And I don't understand how we got away from it. It's still to this day, when I look at something as Art Deco, even something very simple like this, it makes me want to do greater things.
Yeah.
I would say that is the worldview that created Art Deco.
And it wants me to be, and it makes me want to be an American.
Yeah.
It makes me happy and proud of American excellence. And I think that that's the reason it died, is because people didn't want to believe in American excellence.
When you see those like is it usually stainless steel that I'm thinking of? When you just see like a lot of stainless steel, like on a door, like a giant door, and it's Art Deco. Oh, dude, I feel like I'm walking into a very important place. I mean, Fort Worth has some really great Art Deco stuff. Downtown, there's a building. It's an apartment building. I can't think of what it is, but it has a train that goes through it.
Yeah, and it was an Art Deco train.
Yeah,
and that thing looks rad.
Yeah,
it's amazing how you can have something, and this is something that I don't fully understand, but I can't express it intellectually, but I can understand it. It's in the vibes. I understand the vibes. Right, which is, you can have a building in Art Deco style and you can look at it and be like, yeah, that's Art Deco. And then you can look at a train that's Art Deco and be like, yeah, that's Art Deco.
Yeah.
It's like, scientifically, I don't understand how those are both the same style, but I can visually look at them and be like, yeah. those are the same style.
Yeah.
And, somebody who knows it better than me could probably explain it, but it's like your gut understands before your brain does.
If anyone knows an expert in Art Deco, I would love to just have a whole episode where we get an expert talk about like what's going on here, like why did we lose it, what makes something Art Deco, because like you said, we can look at it and say like, wow, that's
and then there's evidently a sub group of Art Nouveau, which is distinct, and I was talking to one guy on Twitter. I was talking to one guy on Twitter, it might have been you, who was like, this is Art Deco and this is Art Nouveau. And I was looking, I was like, yeah, I can tell differences. But I mean, it's like, if you grabbed another building and said, okay, which one is this? I don't know that I could put it into one category over the other.
Art Deco, I mean,
you see that?
Art Deco is made by dwarves, and Art Nouveau is made by...
It's made by elves.
Elves, yeah. That's the difference.
That's white marble. How many factories do you know of today that have white marble? It's like that. None. They don't do that. That was expensive. That was incredibly expensive. Somebody built this thing for generations, and now it sits here, a hollowed out shell of its former self. And this is globalism. This is what global trade. This is what Thatcher brought to England. This is what the boomers with President God himself, Ronald Reagan, who could never do any evil, according to the boomers. This is what he brought to the United States. And he wasn't the first. I mean, this is something that's been going on for a while. But he was the one who put the nails in the coffin of global trade. Richard Nixon, who I think is the best president we had since World War II, he kind of started this with his relationship with China. And it was a tactical decision, open up China to trade so that they break ties with Russia. But where did that get us? Now we are dependent on China, a country who is subversive to our ideals and is still very communist. And we're in a proxy war with Russia. So, tactical blunder. Tactical blunder for sure. So, on that black pill, let's continue. Lynchite says, yes, I believe in free trade between all 50 states. I don't. Why should Texas be forced to buy almonds from California that are cheaper than almonds grown in South Texas?
Can South Texas grow almonds?
Maybe. But I know we can grow citrus and we can grow avocados and we can grow all the things that they grow over in California. So I'm
can't grow pistachios, probably.
I don't know. I don't know the first thing about pistachios except that I like them. I like to eat them.
That's where I grew up, dude. Pistachio and almond country.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my in-laws have an almond tree, or had on the last property that they owned. Or no, that was not an almond. That was an olive. So I don't know.
Maybe that's why you have to buy things from California, because not everything grows in Texas.
Could be. In which case, it'd be stupid to put a tariff on it, huh? But fun fact about almonds: almonds are related to peaches.
Really?
If you've ever seen a peach pit and you're like, man, that looks like an almond. Yeah, that's because they're cousins, very distant cousins, but they're related.
Is that a man-made split?
It's too far back that I don't think we know, but I doubt it. I'm sure man had some effect on it, but Z says the thing that makes a society better tend to cost more than the cheapest option possible. Better tools cost more too. This is normal. Yeah, I've got something that I'm going to do a write-up on eventually. Maybe post it to my Substack, which I've been neglecting, which is having to do with quality versus quantity. And how if you prioritize quantity over quality, you just get garbage that doesn't last. But if you prioritize quality over quantity, the quantity will actually naturally flow from the quality, because people will look for it, and they will, in a good world, they will support the quality. Z says Snugless. Okay.
That's the name that's like Douglas that you said?
No. Z, this is not somebody whom you know. But Sean and I both know him. Most of the guys in the chat know him. Somebody will post his name, I'm sure. Sockeye, I have Churchill Mustache Man in the Unnecessary War. That's correct. That is the book that I was thinking of, and I couldn't think of the title. Note, you can't say Mustache Man's name. I said a while back here, and the comment went missing.
Oh, wow.
Really? Hilter. Mr. Hilter's name is verboten. Lynchite, honestly, Trump's tariffs are half what they ought to be, and we should pay farmers not to farm every 7th year. I could get behind that. I mean, I'm opposed to paying farmers not to farm, but doing the 7th year thing.
That's an interesting idea, for sure.
Because that's something that, that's something that the scripture talks about, and we don't even try. I mean, it doesn't talk about
paying them to do it.
No, it doesn't talk about paying them, for sure. That's maybe this will be the impetus of the the next debate between Wolf and what was his name? Reese. I almost said Deese, but no, Reese. Wolf and Reese. It will be, natural law is pay the farmer to not farm on the 7th year, and the theonomic position is no, don't pay him. He has to foot that bill himself. But I love that that premise would presuppose that that's going on. Linscheid, you can tell an object is Art Deco intuitively because it conforms to the Platonic ideal. Ah, I see we have another Art Deco appreciator. I
don't know how seriously that is that like what it strives to be, is that everything is the Platonic ideal. I don't know. Like,
I don't know. I don't
there's
know.
gotta
I
be
don't
a
know if that's
philosophy
a
behind it,
conscious.
right?
I don't know if that's a conscious decision.
Yeah.
I think, when I think of Art Deco, kind of what I think is glitz and glamour, but not overdone.
No.
And big flowy curves and tall sweeping architecture.
Yeah.
Right. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking of sharp angles. I'm thinking of sweeping angles. And a Corvette is kind of Corvette has the curves of a woman, right? And a Cybertruck has, as it were, the curves of a video game woman from the 1990s.
Yeah.
It's like, Art Deco is curvy, but not in a feminine way, but like a waterfall way, right? And then Greek architecture is, the pillars and the structures. It looks almost like ice. It's there are different things that I kind of attribute to
Art Deco is also appears to be the materials themselves. Like I said, like there's a stainless, there's a way that stainless steel is used that's just like, it's stunning, dude. If you've seen like a door, especially, there's like a huge, like, oh man, what was the other place that I was just at? It's across from Roy Rogers in Fort Worth. I can't think of the name of it. Maybe that is Roy Rogers, actually. I don't know. It's where they do a lot of events and stuff, but it's in Fort Worth. There's this place, and I've posted about it before. But it's just, everything's Art Deco. You could tell when they built it, like that was the rage. And thankfully, it still stands. It is still used.
Yeah.
But there's some places you go into, like a rotunda, I think that's what it's called, where it's like or rotunda.
Yeah, rotunda, an area that's kind of around the
it's like a circular inside
like
place.
a courtyard, but inside a building.
Yeah, there's an Art Deco one of those, and it's just, I don't know, dude. It's like being in another world. It feels like being in the future, even though it's something that is
even though
literally over 100 years old now.
Yeah. Sockeye, thank you for saying it's globalism. I am grieving with you on this. America died in the 1960s, and the change shows.
False. America died in the 1860s.
Correct. It did not die in the 1960s. It died in the 1860s, and it just took 100 years for the body to rot.
There you go. That's a good way to say it.
Linscheid, the damage that's done to our soil and water by corn on corn on corn costs us far more than paying farmers to give each of their fields a break in cycles. Yeah, that's true. Continuously planting the same thing depletes the soil. And the solution to that is petrochemicals that are not good for the soil. And they're not good for the stuff growing in the soil. And they're not good for the people eating the stuff growing in the soil. And they're not good for the water that goes down into the soil and then comes up in well water. It is a vicious cycle. There is a reason that the scripture tells farmers to leave their land fallow on the 7th year. And I think we incur God's wrath by disobeying that. And we also incur the problems that he was trying to prevent by telling us so to do. He says, not to mention the health issues it creates and those costs incurred. Also glyphosate is very bad. Roundup should be illegal.
There's a lot of chemicals that should be illegal.
Yeah.
My, it's funny. I was dogging on theonomy earlier, but we just planted a peach tree this year, and it's actually a really cool thing. So they took a hardy like not really liked kind of peach tree for the roots, and then grafted on like an actual tasty peach tree. So that when you plant it, it comes out as the tasty peach tree, but the roots are the hardy ones that can last
That
really
can
well
get
in
the
Texas.
stuff out of the soil. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like we bought one of those abominations and planted that. Well, anyways, my wife was like, oh yeah, we should be getting, the first year we get them, we'll be able to eat them is whatever year. And I was like, we will not be eating them on that year, because that is not the way that God says to harvest your newly planted fruit trees. I forget what the exact years are, but you're supposed to it's the fallow, letting it go fallow for a bit, and letting it just fall, all those nutrients fall back into the soil for a year. And
Yep. And it does good things for the ground. And God's laws were made for a reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it's wise to try and outsmart God and be like, oh, well, I know why he did it. So, he told us not to light a fire on the Sabbath. So I'm going to like not turn off my light, but I'm going to like hide it and rotate this thing. I'm going to trick God.
Yeah.
It's like when you do these things, it incurs the wrath of God, and you are not his children who so do, so to speak.
Yeah. I'm going to have a fire go through all of Manhattan so I can go outside on Saturday. Have you heard about that? I was talking about that with a friend of mine today. There's a wire. I'm not making this up for anyone listening.
Yeah.
There's a wire in Manhattan that connects like a huge bunch of buildings. So
it's practically all of the Jewish buildings, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just
the
like
Jewish market to the synagogue to
So they do that because they say, well, now technically this is all my house. I haven't gone outside my house because my house is connected to this building and this building. It's all one building because this wire goes through all of Manhattan. And so they have the rabbi walk through and make sure it's there on Friday night. And then they can just do whatever they want on house.
And that's not that they can't leave their house, but it's like you're only supposed to go so and so many steps outside your house.
Yeah.
According to these man-made traditions that Jesus Christ himself condemned.
Magic wire, yeah.
Yeah, the magic exists in every major city in the world, just about. That's right. The magic wire is there. Anywhere that's a big city, the magic wire is there, casting a curse from the devil onto the people of God. So, you should expunge them, throw them out, take their devil wires and their Star of Rem fam with them. And on that very controversial note, we should maybe hang up the show.
Now that we've killed the algorithm.
Yeah, for sure. For those of you who are still watching, thank you for coming along, and hope you have a wonderful night.
Do we want to talk about what we're doing next week on the show? Do we want to?
Yeah, let's go ahead and announce. So on next week's show podcast, tune in 7:30 CST. As always, we are going to have a fellow named Benjamin from Joel Webbon's church, who has he's been in some controversy, not justifiably. I'll say, just right out the gate, I will show my cards. This is a witch hunt. This is absolutely a witch hunt. He has been being persecuted by people that he's not even in their church anymore, about things that he's allowed to speculate on, things that are not sins, the thing that was said last time we had a friend who was persecuted like this was, Thomas Accord did nothing wrong. And Thomas doesn't take that position. He says, some of the things I said were bad. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. Thomas Accord did nothing wrong. That's my position here. Benjamin did nothing wrong. I don't care. Even if he were to come out and say, you know what? I think maybe this, that, and the other, I should have said differently. No, Benjamin did nothing wrong. They are not related. Benjamin and Thomas are not related. But Benjamin will be coming on the show next week. And going over this persecution, what actually happened, what is the timeline of recriminations. And, there have been a lot of things said, like, there was a sin that he repented of. And I think some of that was kind of trying to be some face saving on the part of some people. And Ben says, no, the apology that I made was, I'm sorry if you're offended, but, and, my mom always told me that's not an apology. And Ben was saying, yeah, he wasn't apologizing for anything he said, because he doesn't believe anything he said was wrong. He's sorry if it offends you, but he's not sorry that he said it. And, it's kind of like that meme, right? I'm sorry, but the human sacrifices will stop. I'm not sorry that the human sacrifices are stopping. I'm sorry that it made you upset. So he's going to come on the show. We're going to have a good time. We will talk about that. And hopefully we will all see you there.
Yep. Tell your friends, because I would like to have crowd interaction.
Tell people,
that one
and we will be taking comments, questions from the comments section. If James White's in the comment section asking questions, we're more than happy to address that. So so share the video. I know it's when it's just Sean and me, we're kind of a little more rambly and a little more rambunctious, a little less serious, but it's more fun. So. But anyway, share the show with some folks. But in the meantime, the show is over. So it's time for you to go to bed. The lion sleeps, and so must thou. Tomorrow is a day that God has prepared good works for you to do. So get some rest so that when you rise in the morning, you can do them. In the meantime, we hope that you have a great rest of your Lord's Day. And I'm going to interrupt myself just for a second. Lynchide. A man named Douglas Wilson taught me not to apologize for things which aren't sins. This Doug Wilson guy, he's got some good things to say, man.
I don't know if I like that one, because farting isn't a sin, but if you fart in the wrong context, maybe you should apologize, right?
Fair enough.
I'm so sorry, bro. I didn't mean to fart like that. Right at dinner.
Good point. But certainly do not repent of things as though they are a sin if they are not a sin. That's a good point. And Doug Wilson, he had something good to say there. So anyway, we hope that you have a good rest of your Lord's Day. Have a wonderful